Hi, good evening, good afternoon, good day, wherever you're joining us from. You're welcome to your number one show, the Niger We Want. Joining me tonight is Mr. Wale Olaiton. Welcome, Mr. Wale Olaiton, the Intercontinental Moderator. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vicky Mifolaji. It's good to be back on our number one show, the Nigeria We Want.
You want, yes. And I can see that you've gone to Niger today with your Ankara.
Yes, it's I'm not really a big fan of Ankara. I've got a few, but it's not
Mm,
something that is very popular in terms of my, I guess, traditional outfit. So I thought,
mm,
why not today? Let me try this Ankara. I've had it for maybe a couple of years now.
mm. Looks good. Colorful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
and it's,
you.
and it's the perfect weather for it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So yeah, how's your week been? It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday for us. So how's your week
Um,
been?
my week I've been busy. You will see me. I've been strongly advocating for
Oh yes, vote.
for
Yes.
yes for yes campaign. Just
Mm,
to our global viewers. There's 14th of October. There's a referendum in Australia to on what is called the voice to parliament. Is a recognition of Aboriginal people, as the First Nation people, as they are called, to give them constitutional response, constitutional recognition,
mm,
and also to have what we call the voice to Parliament, which will be an advisory committee that we advise government on issues around the Aboriginal people, on policies, and generally on socio-economic policies, uh, aimed at making life better for the Aboriginal. So yeah, so that has been a very important topic for me, as a migrant and also as a person of color. It is very important to me. It is a very interesting debate on both sides. And I respect people's rights to to their views. It's a democracy, but I just think it's one of those things that yeah, you have to know where you stand. So, and that is what
exactly.
I've done for most part of this week. Yeah, on that
Mm,
topic.
mm. And the way I look at it, I see it as it's the way I visualize this is like me coming to your house and dictating how things are to be done. Well, is that right? Telling you where to go, what to do, how to do it. If I want to help without consulting you, without asking you for what is it that you really need help for? How can I help you? Instead of me lording what I want to do over you, which may not be what exactly you want, because there are so many things that do play in whatever we do. So many things that as someone looking within, we may not be able to see all the angles. So
Absolutely.
for me, my yes is because I want them to be able to have a say in things to do with them.
100%, and that's just my position as well. That I don't see why it is a big deal to recognize that they are the first Australians. It is
Because
a
they
record
are.
because they
So
are. Because they
yes,
are. So I don't see the big deal why it is difficult to really have that recognition. Constitutionally, there are other countries in the world that they have similar history to Australia. Even New Zealand, just not too far away from us, they have constitutional recognition of the Maori people, the indigenous
exactly.
people of New
Mm,
Zealand. So I don't know why that is so difficult, and I don't see why it is difficult to have, that voice that would just be, an advisory kind of body to advise government.
mm,
And government is not compelled to even take that advice. So the way I look at it is, Australia as as an egalitarian society that really want to help, that want to do things outside and be seen as a global player. There's history, there's issue around our history as a nation, and I
Mm,
think some people, especially from the European early settlers, for generations, 4 or 5 generations, or what have you, they still struggle with it. When you talk about issues around Aboriginal people, the social injustices, and the need to redress some of those issues, people from that background, they still feel a sense of guilt when you talk about it, even though you are not really accusing anyone. They are still, in my opinion, looking at it from the historical angle. And there's no way you can discuss the historical angle without
without
linking it,
mentioning it,
without
exactly.
mentioning or linking to the ancestors. And because of that,
Exactly.
my observation, I've read extensively, I've watched whatever available on this. My take is that people become defensive, and it becomes their default position. They are just defensive, and they say, "No, what else do we want to give them? We are all Australians." No one is denying that, but the fact that is that some people are left behind, and they are the first nations in this country. What can we do as a nation to bring them
Exactly.
along in that journey?
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
um, yeah,
And
so
sometimes you look at it, refugees are treated even much better than they are.
to some degree, in terms of the programs and settlement and everything.
Mm.
So I know,
Financials.
settlement. I know on the other hand, on the opposing sides, they've spoken extensively about how governments, consecutive governments have allocated money to different programs, to different Aboriginal country organizations and communities, and where those community associations have not been able to deliver the required outcomes in terms of health, education, and social economic empowerment. Is
Mm.
there any
Other way.
logical argument in that? Yeah, to some degree, that is true. That there are cases where monies allocated to most of these organizations have not been well spent, and they've not been able to account for that money. But you
Mm.
can't, because of that, throw the baby with the bathwater completely. There are still issues that it is a disgrace, as a first word that Australia try, that we project
To be.
ourselves.
Mm.
It's still a disgrace that you go to some places in this country, and you can't even compare to what you see in the developing, in some of the so-called less developed nations on earth.
Mm.
So these are the issues for me, and that's the way me I say it. I understand that sometimes they say charity begins at home. If you want to be this global player, on international issues, on the world stage, you want to be really be seen as Australians, and you want to be heard, as Australians on a global
Mm.
stage. Then we need to do the right thing for the First
Exactly.
Nations of this country.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Mm.
I did my early, and I'm sure you said the same thing. I had my, my years, vote today, and I will see what happens tomorrow when the
Tomorrow.
official, referendum.
Let's keep our fingers crossed, right?
Yeah,
And just see how things go. Um, yeah, we just have to do what we have to do. And for me, this is one of the things that I believe I have to do. It's been, you know, it's been too long, for these people to not be recognized the way they should be. Um, it's just, yeah. I mean, we've got to all do the right thing. fairaustralia.com. All right. So today we want to talk
absolutely.
about this topic, which we've read few things and watched few videos, and this is a topic that, um, for me, it touches me every time I see anything to do, with what we're discussing today. It makes me angry that it's happening in my country of birth. Um, and it's all about the abuse and defiling of girls, of daughters by their own fathers, which is rising in Nigeria. Um, that's the topic we're going into today. It's never a happy thing to discuss or to talk
Yeah.
about, but because it's happening, we can't just have it there as the elephant in the room. It has to be addressed. We need to talk about what is going on, why is it happening. Um, I Anyway, before we actually go there, I forgot the first part, which is what is trending. So, Mr.
I
Olaiton,
think
what is trending?
we've discussed that briefly. We've
All
discussed
right,
that briefly with,
briefly, or yeah, about
the
the
only
yes.
thing I just have to add, briefly is,
Mm,
we've spoken about the years, which is, I think we're going global today for what is
mm,
trending because we have been global, viewer. So,
yeah.
what is also trending is for me is the ongoing war between Israel,
Oh yeah.
and Palestinians,
I'm
and, by
Palestinian.
extension,
Mm,
Hamas. We just
mm,
want to use this medium to call for world peace. That's, for peace to reign, in that region. Essentially, it has been a region that, has been on turmoil for a very long time to go. And the key
oh,
issues are around land, around
mm,
religion, and around politics. I think, my understanding, those are the three key
me.
the
Mm,
main issues is around the
mm,
land, is around politics, is also, around
religion.
religion. Yeah, so we hope and pray that, for sake of humanity, because on both sides there are casualties, and the casualties on both sides, they are just civilians, on both sides. We hope that United Nations and other global organizations will be able to, call everyone to the round table and be able to
Mm,
work out,
what
some,
the problems
practical
are. Yeah.
solutions. So yeah, I just thought I should just mention that.
Yeah, I was supposed to be going to Israel at the end of this month, actually. I was supposed to be there for a week, touring with some of my girlfriends. Um, Flight booked, paid for, all paid for, tour paid for, everything paid for. And then a couple of days after the flight was paid, all these things started happening. And
Mm,
we were like, okay, in my past visits there, we were told that no matter what happens to both sides, they fight, they whatever, that every single time it doesn't get to where the tourists are, because the tourism is a main way of them making money from both sides.
absolutely, yeah.
There's a lot, I mean, I'm talking about billions of dollars every year that they make through tourism. It's a lot of money to them. So they try to protect tourists from getting exposed to whatever is happening between them. They work together with their tourists, and because they know they're bringing money. But this time around, everybody is being impacted. The airport and Israel, Tel Aviv itself, and it's not just at the Gaza, it's everywhere. So those that are currently doing their tourism, they are trying to get out to Jordan to escape, you
Yeah.
know. And those that are in, they're trying to find a safe place to stay. So those of us that were about to go, we had to cancel our tickets, and yeah, good luck to us if
Is
we get
a
our
is a
refund.
reasonable is a reasonable thing to do.
Exactly. So I just said to my girls, I said, you know what? I'm in Nigeria now. Me, I'm not going into war zone no matter what. Ah, yeah. Let's cancel and find somewhere else to go. So that's the plan. It's quite sad, but um, let's hope that peace will come back to the table um, soon, because just look at that. It's quite
There
devastating.
is,
It is devastating. So we pray for peace. We ask for peace. Um, and yeah, Now I realized the reason why some of the places were looking the way they were looking when I visited the place. Now I can see the reason why. So
Because for a very, very long time, Israel has
mm,
never been hit like this. It has
no,
never even
no.
happened. It has
Mm,
never, like, real going there and
yeah,
killing hundreds of, it has
of
never
people.
happened.
Yeah,
So, and they
yeah.
made it very clear that they're going
Mm,
to total obliteration. They're going to
mm,
obliterate Hamas. But
mm,
the tricky side and the ironic side is that they cannot really obliterate, Hamas in isolation, because Hamas is
that
hiding within
amongst,
that
yeah,
small
yeah.
population
Mm,
of of
of
very
civilians.
congested area,
Mm,
of
mm,
3 million Palestinians or so in that area. So
mm,
it's
mm.
um,
It's quite sad. It is sad, but let's just we pray that peace will come to the table, and
yeah,
not to that things will, God will look into things and help them all out. So,
yeah,
my brother, let's get into today's topic. Our two other panelists, they are missing in action. Hopefully, maybe they'll join us as we go, but let's get into today's topic. You're a father of beautiful daughters. I'm a mother of two girls myself. So when we talk about things like this, it's for us, it's something that needs to be looked into. We can't just pretend as if it's not happening. It is happening. I remember when I first moved to South Africa to live, and things like this were happening over there, and you know, kids of 4 or 5 years, under 5 years, were being raped and defiled. To me, I mean, that time I was like, this is just not on. I was always talking about it, always, screaming about it, that this is just not right. And they all do have their reasons there at that place in South Africa. Their reason was that you know, their native doctors, like Babalawo, but their own native doctors Sangoma, they called Sangoma. They, because of the rampant of HIV over there, so they misinformed them that in as much as they have sexual intercourse with young kids that are less than 5, because they have fresh blood, and that will clean them off their HIV.
mm, mm,
That was the story behind them doing that. To me, it was disgusting. To me, it was just something that shouldn't be happening. That those people should be, something needs to be done to them, and stuff like that. But now coming home and hearing this, that it's happening to our young girls, we need to talk about it. And that is why we've picked this topic today: abuse, defiling of girls, not by strangers. Strangers do it, but when their own fathers, their own biological fathers, are now doing it, it's disgusting. It's beyond. It makes my skin crawl. So, Mr. Wale Olaito, let's get into today's show.
Thank you, Dr. Vicky. And if you just join us, you are on your number one show, The Nigeria We Want. On The Nigeria We Want today, we'll be discussing issues about gender-based violence in Nigeria. And specifically, we'll be discussing the topic, abuse, defiling of girls by fathers on the rise in Nigeria, as the world marks the 2023 International Day of the Girl Child. Courtesy of our producer, Mr. Festus Alabi, I quickly provide a background to today's topic. Girls are often more vulnerable to exploitation, abuse, and violence in the society than boys. Due to the unique challenges and barriers girls face in various societies, there was the need to put measures in place to break down these obstacles for their well being and development. In December 2011, The United Nations General Assembly adopted the resolution 66/170, 66/170, which declared 11th of October as the International Day of the Girl Child to address the challenges girls face worldwide. The theme for this year's celebration is Invest in Girls' Rights, Our Leadership, Our Well-Being, a powerful reminder of the struggle for gender equality and the need for protection against violence. In the face of the celebration, Nigeria is battling escalating incidents of sexual and gender-based violence in form of threat to life, battery, verbal abuse, rape, sexual assault, and defilement. Despite extant laws on sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria, such as the Criminal and Penal Codes, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, and others, cases of rape continue to grow in the country, with underage girls the most victims. The National Survey on Torture of Nigeria puts the rate of women's rape and sexual abuse at 65.4%, while data from the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program, RoLAC, British Council program, reveals that a total of 21,260 cases were reported as of June 2021. So on today's show, we'll be asking, so how empowered is the girl child in Nigeria against sexual and gender-based violence? So I go straight to Dr. Vicky on this. It's going to be me and Dr. Vicky, just tonight. So how empowered is the girl child in Nigeria against sexual and gender-based violence? Dr. Vicky.
How empowered? um, I'm kind of speechless about that question because when we talk about kids, let's look at kids in Nigerian setting in a country. Kids, they really don't have much to say. They're not allowed to talk. They're not allowed to be seen. Um, growing up, you're not allowed to talk when adults are talking. You're not allowed to, do anything. So when it now comes to, anything to do with being defiled, being sexually abused, they really don't have any say. Don't have anything to say. They don't have, they can't, they don't really have any power. So, long and short answer for this is that absolutely no power for them. Absolutely no. Because of the culture, because of, the way things are over there.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Vicky. And and so to make the matter worse is that even the perpetrators of the crime of the sexual assault, there are people that are within the family, and in very recent cases, the father. So, and it is difficult for anyone to even believe such a child, even if they are confident enough to raise that.
Mm,
Within the culture is prohibited, within the religious setting. The child is not even expected to say anything.
exactly.
Within the school environment, where, as agents of socialization, where they could equally learn other things about society and how to grow up. But the school is an extension of the culture, is an
Yeah.
extension of the culture, is an extension
Mm,
of the religion where the school exists. So they go to school and reinforce exactly, you don't talk, you don't look an adult in the eyes and all that. So
exactly.
there's no way to go. Let's go on now. Sexual defilement of female minors, especially by their fathers, is now, rampant. You actually made reference to that in your introductory words. That is really, really crazy, and I'm sitting here and I feel very, very
Not
uncomfortable.
comfortable,
I
honestly.
feel, I feel very, very uncomfortable to even trying to really phantom how a father, would descend to the level of looking for all women around, and even if he wants to be so promiscuous and it looks so everywhere around, there's no other place to really look for other
Your
than
own daughter.
their own daughters. So what do you think could be responsible for this really, very, very, very bad, situation going on now? In your views, what are the responsible factors for this?
All right. There are different ways that I look at things like this. And Nigerians will say, "Oh, if you catch such a man, you say, oh, it's the devil. It's the devil. It's the devil." So they always find someone to blame, and devil is always around to be blamed, right? But there are few other factors that comes to mind. Hurt people hurt. Somebody who was hurt before, um, without, if they're not, if that hurt wasn't dealt with properly, if they have PTSD from it, they start behaving in certain ways. I'm not trying to excuse them or whatever, but as a mental health clinician, I've got to think, you know, uh, about other ways or other reasons why they do what they do. Mental health is it plays a major role in this. Mental health. Um, and with mental health that is untreated for a prolonged period of time, you see them um, doing things like this. Um, that's one. Number two, um, being able to be knowing fully well that they can do this and get away with it. I mean, there was a case like this that I actually talked about a couple of years ago, because I did a show on this on Vikio's show a while back, where I invited few other people to share their minds about it. And a particular girl wrote to me about her own experience. And because of that, I did that show. So what led to it was I was talking about, did a video that I talked about forgiveness and how you can be lighter and stuff like that. And this girl wrote an epistle to me to
Hmm.
say, how do I forgive? How do I forgive a father who raped me at the age of 12? How do I forgive a mother that walked in and saw dad doing what he was doing to me, and mom walked out and pretended as if nothing happened? How do I forgive and let go what these people did to me? How do I forgive? And that got me, like, though I had a chat with her, we talked about it and stuff, but that's it's still happening today, which is the reason why we're doing this topic. Yeah, these people, they may have their own reasons, but when we go back to the top, the that sentence, hurt people hurt. There are so many people that have been hurt, but they don't go ahead and hurt people. They don't go ahead and hurt their own children. They go and find ways to deal with their own hurt. But so many things do come to play. Not having insight into what may have happened to them, not wanting to even go there, but trying to express their hurt and how they feel in other ways by making others cry, especially their own children that can't talk, because That's the if somebody can talk about what someone has done to them, you are taking the power away. But knowing fully well that the kids, the daughters, the girls, they are silenced, they can't talk, there's no power. So they've taken that power away, so they'll keep doing what they're doing. So I'm not sure. I think I've jumped to them all up.
Yeah, no,
But
no, 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 no. I'm on the same page. I know clinical, my line
mm,
of work, I understand clinical setting and how things happen. I actually want to really add a few words from that
mm,
clinical angle,
mm,
as well.
yeah.
Clinically, there is social learning theory. It's a psychological theory around what you said that odd people odds like under social learning theory, people whatever their upbringing, what they were subjected to through their
Mm,
upbringing, if they are if within the family is rape or sexual assault is normal, they grow up really believing that it is normal. They grow up believing that that is how they do in all that family, setting. If the use of violence is the norm within that family setting, they don't
yeah.
use any social clothes of how to communicate with others. They go into the world believing that, and
Exactly.
just to buttress the point around the fact that some people, maybe most of these men, in some cases, or even growing up, maybe that was their own experience. Probably
Mm,
they were raped by their parents,
mm-hmm.
because it's often less reported. The other
Exactly.
side also happens. We have actually mothers that sleep with their own
On
sons,
sons. Mm,
so that is often not well reported, but that is also part of that very complex situation. So
mm,
you also made reference of trauma and unresolved trauma in form of PTSD. I also think there's around that mental health, pedophilia could also be
yeah.
linked to it.
Mm,
Some of these men may have pedophilic tendencies, and if you really study around them before they became parents themselves, I'm sure they
you
must
must
have
have
been playing
practiced.
around with other people's
Yeah.
kids,
Mm.
within cousins, or their nieces, or with
Neighbors.
they must have been doing it, and because of that pedophilic tendencies, now they have their own daughters, and the opportunities, they say, is a very common saying in environmental criminology. They say opportunities make a crime. So if there are
Mm,
opportunities, anyone could become a criminal. It's just as simple as that. That's just that theory, is all about. Like, when they have the opportunity, the woman is busy, not at home,
yeah.
or doing some other things, you know,
Mm,
we easily get out of control.
mm.
Yeah, that's just,
It's
yeah.
it's it's
Yeah.
sad. It's sad.
Okay.
Mm,
Let's move on to another question. It's looking like just gonna be two of us. We're doing well with time, and we with the questions. Um, Data on cases of sexual violence are not usually available due to the hidden nature and unwillingness of victims to report.
mm,
How can we tackle this? So you've mentioned earlier about, when I asked you the question around, are they empowered? And you've said, well, where is that empowerment coming from? So how do we, I guess, address that issue of, that unwillingness on the part of the victims to really come up, to speak out, because the victims, they vary from different ages. They vary from age where they are still young to teenage years to, in some
mm.
cases, we still have this evil act going on till the lady is actually adults,
Out
that
of
father
yes. Mm,
continue to, it becomes more like their own relationship, sort of. How
mm.
do we encourage, how do we break that cycle of, of silence?
To break the cycle of silence, we need to make the environment safer for them to want to talk. And what do I mean about making the environment safer? Is about having different safe places for people to go to be able to open up.
Mm,
Um, I remember few years back now, probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, when there was this high profile rape case of a wife to a singer, the lady, I can't remember her name now, who accused one pastor, Adetoyinbo or something like that, of raping her when she was a teenager, late teenage years. That man raped her in his house. She was a member of the church, a strong member of the church, but that man raped her and she was so strong about it. And other people came out to say, yes, that was true, that he did it. But of course, that case died down, of course, because the pastor, a pastor, money, and everything came to play. And he got away with it. But I remember saying something about it that time, that because some people blamed her, that why now, the lady, she's married, she's got like 3 or 4 kids, that why she now talking about it. See, the thing is, someone who had gone through that kind of experience and unable to talk about it, it goes on and on in their brain, in their mind, so their power is being taken away from them. But there must be a safe place for them to go to. There are times, even kids, they go to tell mom, they go to tell dad that they don't believe them. There must be uh, a place where they won't be judged, where they will be listened to. That is creating safe places for them to go to. 2 years ago, I was running a program called the Life Skills Program. One day, mom called me. One mom called and said, "Vicky, someone asked me to talk to you about this. There's a problem. I don't know what the problem is, but I was told that if I talk to you, you'll be able to help me with it." So I said, "Okay, give me the brief. What's going on?" And she said, "My daughter, who at that time, that girl was 3 years old. That girl, she's been behaving funny." And I asked her,
Mm,
"So behaving funny how?" She said, whenever she says we're going to Uncle something something's place, she just goes crazy on me. She'll kick me. She'll never behaved like that before. But I really don't know what's going on. So I said, okay, bring her to the program that evening and then we'll see how we go. So at the program, when the girl got there, there were other kids. So we're talking about anger management that day. We get them to draw stuff. We don't just talk, like classrooms. No,
yeah,
we go deep. We get them to draw pictures and stuff. So we ask them all to draw a picture of someone that hurt them and themselves and what happened. This girl drew a stick picture of a tall guy and herself tiny. So I looked at the picture and I said, "Oh, so tell me about your picture. So who's this tall guy?" And she said, "That's Uncle blah blah. That's the name of the uncle."
yeah.
The
Correct.
mom looked at me and said, "That's my brother." So I asked the girl, I said, "So what did Uncle blah blah did to you that made you so angry?" And she said, "He touched my vagina."
Mm, yeah.
Mom looked at me, tears flowing
Mm,
from my
mm,
face, say, "What?" The girl said, "Yeah, mom, he touched my vagina." She can't even pronounce it. That was how, I mean, 3-year-old girl. And that was a big case. The man was actually brought to justice. The family, they were paid, victims of crime, some thousands of
okay,
dollars and stuff
compensation,
like
yeah.
that. Um, Things like these are happening. So mom now told the story of 3.5 weeks before that time, that she took the kids and they went to visit the brother in another town. outskirts of Melbourne. They went to visit. The brother had
Sorry.
not mental, but I think it was a little bit delayed. So he had learning disability, mild.
Disability.
Yeah. So they went to visit, and while they were there, um, the girl went to the kitchen to get something. The brother was there. The brother was trying to touch the girl. So the girl screamed, ran to mom. Mom didn't know what was going on. The girl was pulling mom. Mom, let's go, let's go, let's go. But mom didn't know what was going on. But that girl was so unsettled from that time on. She started behaving somehow that made mom to say, okay, something is going on. Who do I help? Who do I talk to? Who can help me? And somebody now said, go and talk to Vicky. And that was how we unravel what happened.
What
That was a safe place for that girl to come and talk. If you had taken her to a clinical setting, white room, stethoscope, or whatever, she wouldn't talk. The program that I was running then, we run it in a fun environment. We were running it at McDonald's, a fun place, chips, drinks, where they can run up and down, and then when we do these talks, we don't just talk, we don't do much of talking, we do
you
more,
get it, especially with kids.
we go to their level.
Because
And she was able to open up. So I'm talking about creating safe places to give people opportunity to open up. They might not open up the first time, they might not open up the second time, but eventually it tends to happen. And educating people, even before it happens, after it happened, that exercise your right. Use the power of your voice. The person had already hurt you. Don't let them continue to hurt you by having them in here rent free. Open your mouth and talk and bring them to justice. So creating safe place for me is the number one key of getting victims to open up. Welcome,
thank you.
Mr. Michodimo.
My apologies. I am far away in Ado Ekiti,
Oh,
on the location of reproduction. We're having Fajri on stage,
all right.
celebrating a hero that
Mm,
sacrificed his life for the unity of this country.
mm.
So we're celebrating him, and that's the play that we're having. So I've been here for about a week, hence my lateness to this show. Sorry about that. My
Ayo.
apologies. I actually had to struggle to get on at all costs. I just had to.
Apologies accepted. Apologies
Thank you
accepted.
so much.
Thank
Mm.
you very much, Egbon. So we just, discussing issues around, parents behaving so badly, especially men behaving so badly, development of, their own daughters. So that's been what we've been discussing. Um, Dr. Vicky has, addressed some of the issues from the clinical lens in terms of clinical work and made examples to mental health issues around unaddressed post traumatic experiences of their parents, issues around the opportunities for the man to do whatever they do to their own kids, and also the issues around pedophilic tendencies that may have been there earlier. So I will give you a question, and as a way of gets you into our discussion. Many people have argued that the society and the justice system are culpable to a large degree in these cases of the perpetrating of the crime, and if in some to some degree how the justice system react to this. How do we strengthen institutions to help in these fights? One, we have parents taking advantage of their own daughters, and even we even have that culture of silence in terms of the society and the religion. how can we really address this multi faceted problem, Mr. Shodimo? And how do we use our institutions to fight?
Well, you've used the right word. It's a multifaceted thing. It's a multifaceted issue, and it has to be approached in that same manner. It's unfortunate that we've allowed this to filter for this long. We've allowed it to go on and on. And maybe people are even getting bolder. They're getting bolder, sadly, and to the detriment of these young girls. But that's what you find where there are no repercussions, where you don't see obvious punishment for acts of this nature, sanctions like such for this. It's been a very unfortunate thing. Yes, the society, starting with, is complicit in the sense of turning the blind eye, walking away from such, and say, well, it's a family problem. Or if they are offered such an explanation, they take it just like that and they take a walk. That is a very, very sad thing. And this has helped this to grow. The society also that has created institutions like the legal, the judiciary, and all that. There's a need to take a second look at our extant laws. What does it say? Are the punishment adequate for this continued thing? Are the punishment adequate for the scar that is left on such girls? Because if we are able to actually punish people adequately for such misdeeds, it will serve as a kind of detriment to others. But when people do it and they just live with a slap of the hand on the wrist, that's a big problem. I must give kudos to female judges in particular, because whenever you find such cases being handled by judges, and I stand to be corrected, whenever you find such cases being handled by female judges, you can be more than sure that they are most likely to apply. Once they are convinced, they are going to apply the maximum the law or whatever thing offers. And there really should be a conscious effort that it doesn't have to be a female judge that does this. What does the law say? That is the thing. Now, let me go back to the issue of the act itself. Unfortunately, I will tell you that some people do it as a result of a behavioral pattern. Some do it for I mean, things we cannot actually spill out. Maybe sacrifice or whatever. Some for diabolic reasons. Let me put it that way. Some people do it for diabolic reasons. And that's not minding whether the lady or the girl is hot or not. They do it. They go ahead and do such things. And it's been known for so long. You also find a situation where mothers collaborate with their husbands for that to happen. Mothers keep quiet even when they find out that that is happening. Some mothers will not react to it because they are scared of what the man will do to them. Some mothers will not scream because they are afraid of being tagged as women who send their husbands to jail. Some mothers will not do it because of what the husband's family will say or how they will react. But in all this, the poor girl is the victim.
Exactly.
So we need to make up our minds what exactly we want. Do we want to continue to sacrifice our girls for this? Do we want to mess up the future of these young ones? If the answer is no, then we need to have a rethink. We need to decide on means of strengthening our system, the judicial system, for instance. And that can steps of doing that is by going back to the legislature and having a review of what these laws say. It is also by strengthening our policing system. It is also by education of these young ones, right from primary school. They need, just as Doc said, they need to speak out. They need to speak out. And in encouraging them to speak out, I'll still go back to Doc's suggestion. We need to create safe places for them. We need to create safe places, because you find out that some men's hearts are sold to the devil. So if the young girl or whatever, or the daughter reacts and exposes this, you will see the animal in that man. Of course, the act itself is that of an animal, but the upper grade of an animal comes out of him. And this is where it's had to be checked. Then our policing system, people need, listen, when somebody raises alarm or screams for help, we need to take it serious. There are situations, we've had reports of girls reporting in police stations of funny acts to them, and these policemen laugh over it. And I mean, it doesn't happen in all cases. If they're unfortunate to find the irresponsible ones in uniform, the table is even turned against them, that she must have enticed. So these are things we really, it's a multifaceted thing, just as you said, Wale, and that has to be the same form of approach. And our religious bodies need to do a lot more. Unfortunately, some religious leaders are involved in these acts. Unfortunately. But for those who preach the sermon and from January to December is all about Israel in the wilderness and all that, we are in our own wilderness. They should take a second look at us and let's talk more about us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shodimo. Mr. Shodimo extensively covers some of the root causes of the issues, the manifestations of the issues, and how the legal system can become, and the society at large can become complicit in the whole thing. And that's why we're raising the awareness on this important, on the occasion of the International Day of the Girl Child. That's why we seizing the other opportunity to make this our topic, of today. And also, before I come back to Dr. Vicky with my, questions around, how parents, especially mothers, how can they really assist, in tackling this menace? If you look back, Egbon made reference to the scars. The scars on that daughter or that person, and the need for us to change our attitude. Even the police, the law enforcement, it might take 20 years to report. There shouldn't be any label of why are you just waking up 20 or 25 years after to report that. She must be going through a lot, and for her to get to that level of being able to say, look, I need to speak out. If it takes 20 years, 30 years here, historical, child abuse or sex abuse is open. It can be 50 years that they open those cases, and people have been sent to jail for that, and also around the sexualized behaviors that we need to pay attention to, as parents, or as we don't pay attention. We can all look back and remember kids that growing up from primary school, you can count, he's sleeping with this person, he's sleeping with that person, with that same environment. People don't see it as anything. They see it as They just see that girl as being, but psychologically, she has been exposed to sex
Sometimes,
at
yeah.
a very, very younger age. If you go back and look at some of those girls, they have been exposed to sex very, very early. They become so sexualized, and 8, if not 9 out of 10, they would experiment from random to random with different men because they they just become so sexualized at a very, very tender age. They can't even hold on to a marriage. They can't hold on to a marriage if they become so sexualized at a younger age. They can't really get that satisfaction from one man. For whatever reason, they have to sleep around with different men to really get whatever, to satisfy their appetite for it. And so it's a very, very, and I don't think they even get any help in a society like ours. People just sit them. So it's a major, it's like they damage that person based on the action of
Mm.
parents or their family members. So, Dr. Vicky, because of time, how can parents really help, especially mothers? You made reference earlier of someone that shared that story with you some years ago that her mother caught in her father in the act and just walked out. So
Pretending as if nothing.
how can we reconcile this? And as a mother, how can you really how can we even make any sense of that? That mothers you know any
I
mother
believe,
position.
yeah, I believe the mothers, when it comes to things like this, we have a bigger role to play. We have the front seat. And we do that by having the chat with our kids since they are little, with our girls since they are young, where, you know, and if you remember, Wale, I've said this again and again on this platform, whereby it's very important for us to have open door policy. And what I mean by open door policy as moms to our daughters, even to all our children, is for them to be able to come to us and talk to us about anything. You don't want them to go and find someone out there to talk to, someone out there that may not have their best interest at heart. We've had stories of someone out there eventually becoming the girls, what do you call it? Those that give them to other men to whatever. So having open door policy is to be able to listen to them, for them to trust you enough to want to talk to you. It's always going to be good things that they'll be sharing with you. They want to share with you deep, deep stuff, but you need to be willing to hear them out and redirect them. But remember, I said something before: hurt people hurt. Mom who turned away, if you know a story of heartbreak, a story of being damaged herself, not knowing how to undo something like this, and many, many, many. So, but moms, be there for your girls. Be there to hear them out. Be there to support them. And we do this by, number one, listening to what they are saying, listening to what they are not saying. Listen to them when they are quiet, because it's usually full of some stuff that they want to say, and getting them to open up to you. It's very important. Very, very important. Um, we have front row seat because we are the moms and they came through us. So we've got to be able to do whatever we do to get them to trust us enough for them to want to open up to us.
Thank you, Dr. Vicky. Looking at the time now, I'll go to Egbon for the last, last question. The time is far spent, and I just want us to. We are always solution focused on this program, so I want to, the last questions to be around in the solutions. I will start with Mr. Shodimo. What are the solutions around, supporting our girls to live in safe environments, to be able to speak out and, before it is too late, and also on how do we provide support for them. It could be in form of psychological support because they are damaged psychologically that could really, really be there for the rest of their lives. And I think there's a lot of emphasis on policing and law enforcement. How do we really support them before it gets to, before, they are destroyed? And, what other psychological support can we offer? Mr. Shodimo?
Because of time, I'll make this brief. There are experts in this field. There are experts in this field who know what to say, what to ask, and what suggestions to give to such victims. I mean, luckily we have one in-house, person of Dr. Vicky. But I'll tell you, we're probably not involving enough of them here. Maybe we do not even have enough trained for such. Let me give kudos to those who are involved already, people who have taken it as their own duty to fight for such girls and protect them. We have a few of them around. It's unfortunate that I keep referring to the National Council of Nigerian Women Societies. There was a time we had them up and doing. There was a time their word was even feared in the high quarters. But for some reasons, I don't know, that's one body that has gone to sleep. One can only hope they'll wake up one of these days. The other body, which I think really needs to do a lot more, is Federation of Women Lawyers. I'm not sure about the real, but we're talking about a group of a society of female lawyers. They used to be very effective too. They used to be, I think some state branches are still doing some good work. But as a national body, as an umbrella body, I'm not too sure one has had enough from them. As a society, governments need to really wake up and see that these women, these are girls, deserve to be protected. They are an endangered species, especially when you know that a lot of there's this song, "Who Let the Dogs Out," is ringing in my head. Where they came from, only God knows. But the more we let them off the hook, the more we'll have this problem. We also need to deliberately, I'm stressing what Dr. Vicky said, we need to deliberately create safe houses for this, safe homes for these young girls. We need to. Then even in our institutions of educational institutions, somebody has to be responsible for the supervision of teachers, lecturers. Somebody has to be held responsible. We just don't leave them to their own whatever method and measures. Somebody has to. We once discussed the issue of the professor in Calabar, in University of Calabar. That case is still on, and luckily it's not been swept under the carpet. So we need to do a lot more. We need to decide. We need to know that this is almost an epidemic, and it has to be approached like that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shodimo. So
I'm sorry, just before I forget, just before I let them off the hook too, there are political leaders who are involved in this. There are some political leaders whose stock in trade is in this. One could probably just use this platform to appeal to them to let our girls breathe, including their daughters. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Dr. Vicky, your final words around, solutions and support, to the victims, and for you to close the show. Over to you, Dr. Vicky.
Um, my final words: we need government input. We know that here in Australia and other Western world, organizations that look after, that make sure that kids are safe, girls are safe, women who are going through violence, they can be removed and they are going to be safe. Those organizations, they get looked after by the government. So they get given some funds so that they can do their job. Egmont mentioned few organizations that are currently sleeping. They are sleeping because of lack of fund. I can believe that it's because of lack of fund. It's a lot of work, and when we're talking about work, we're talking about a lot of mental work. It's stressful on all those people that are doing it. You can't, you can volunteer, but man, it takes a toll on you. If you're actually doing the work and you're getting paid, that's another thing. So government coming to help out in terms of allocating some funds. We know we have some crazy people. We have some bulldogs that needs to be tied down, but of course they are roaring, they are going around free, able to do whatever. So we still need to provide protection for those people who cannot talk much for themselves. And the government needs to do something about it. Safe place is another. It's government that can also provide some financial backing so that this place can continue to run, because we will continue to have issues like this, but there should be a place for them to go. Now the other part is for victims to be able to find safe places to go and talk, um, and open up to, rather than getting hurt. And remember, hurt people hurt. They need to be able to talk, because the moment you start talking, that's the moment you are free. You're not a victim anymore when you can talk about your experience. um so I think that's it for all this. So we appreciate those that joined us. We have a couple of people that mentioned where they're joining us from. They watch on Facebook. Thank you for watching. And Egbon, we appreciate you for taking time out to come and join us despite your busy schedule. Um, yeah, Mr. Wale Light on the intercontinental moderator. Thank you for today's topic. It's not a topic that you can see even the feel. It's not the way we normally roll, because it's not. It's just makes us. For me, yeah, but we still have to talk about it. It's the elephant in the room. We need to put some touch light on it, and that's what we've done. So yeah, but we'll be back again next Friday. We are right, Wally. We don't have, and when we are getting to that time of that season that we do have stuff happening. So that's why I'm checking in case I've forgotten something.
Don't let me just talk. Let me just keep be quiet.
Yeah. So, but I think we'll be back again next Friday at 9:30 Melbourne time, 11:30 Nigerian time. All right. So you all have a lovely, great weekend. See you all then. God bless.
Bye for
Bye.
now.
Right.
Yep.
Bye.
The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. Of Africa. Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. The Nigeria we want. With Vicky Omi Folaji. Yeah, me show the moon. Wale your light on. I've been see what shuku. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria, on big ocean. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria, of Africa. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria.